One of the first videos I ever made on this channel was talking about how I didn't feel like I was satisfied with my life, or talking about how I didn't really know if I really had any real dreams in life, stuff like that, unfulfillment, a lot of heavy things. And today I want to kind of talk about something that is in the same breath as that, very similar to that, and it's about monotony and the sacrifices that you sometimes make in order, well, not in order to achieve monotony, but the sacrifices you make to achieve something, and then that thing ends up becoming monotonous. In my last video, I talked about how, or at least I think it was my last video, I talked about how I'm living in New York City alone this summer because after a lot of pain and searching and stressing, I was able to secure an internship in the city. And on paper, everything seems really good, you maybe even perfect, if you will. My office is in Soho, so the commute is generally kind of long, but at the same time, it's also kind of surreal walking past, just walking through Soho to get to your office. And for those of you who don't know, Soho is kind of like a very famous shopping district in New York City. I know there's a lot of very popular brands, international brands that have locations here. Some brands actually have their only United States locations here, like Goo, for example. If anyone knows about Uniqlo, they have kind of a sister chain called Goo, and their only store in the U.S. is in Soho, and I walk past it pretty much every single day when I go to work. But at the same time, even though everything on paper looks so good, and I've kind of touched on this topic before, deep down I still kind of have that feeling of unfulfillment. And the reason isn't because I don't feel like I'm doing enough or whatever, but because it feels like after all the stuff I've put myself through in order to get to this point, it almost feels like there's like a lingering feeling of that's it. Like I stressed so much throughout my school year from the fall even. I was trying to already do everything I could to secure a summer internship after my freshman year of college because I know it's one of the hardest ones to get, especially without connections. And this was one that I got without connections. Like, yeah. And now that I'm in this position, I'm making money. I get to live in New York City. I have my own apartment that I don't need to share with anyone else for a good price. It just feels all like a. It feels like it's like I've been led to believe in something that's been super overhyped, and now we're at the stage where I realized that it was kind of overhyped. And I don't mean overhyped in the sense that like living in New York City isn't an amazing experience, especially when you're this young. Like I'm grateful for it all. At the same time though, it just feels very, I don't know, monotonous. Like every single day I wake up, I take the subway to work, I go to work, and then I just come home. And sometimes I'll cook something for dinner, sometimes I'll just eat something that I had already meal prepped a few days before. And then I just do nothing for the rest of the night, and then I go to bed. Like recently it's just been I play Valorant for a few hours and then I go to sleep, and then on the weekends I don't do anything fun. Like I just both today's Sunday, but yesterday, Saturday, and today actually, I ended up going to sleep at like 8 a.m. and waking up at 5 p.m. Just D1 chud behavior all around for me. And at the same time, I know a lot of this is kind of self-inflicted, right? There's a lot of things that I should be doing right now that I haven't been doing, or at least things that I told myself I would do and that I haven't gone to yet. Things like going to the gym or studying stuff, working on things. I told myself I would get back into video editing this summer and make a really cool project. I even have a bunch of songs saved on my Spotify that I want to make into like a summer edit, if you will. But I haven't actually started doing any of that. I've just been going to work, coming back, and then immediately either just sleeping. There's some days where I just fall asleep at like 8 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., or I just act like a chud and I just play video games all day. So it's a weird mix. At one hand, I am being productive because I have a job, but on the other hand, I'm so unproductive outside of the work that I'm forced to do that it just feels like overall I'm in kind of a losing situation. Because the thing about work is you get paid to do it. If you don't do it, you get fired. There are a lot of both incentivizers and also just like things that are almost built in to help you keep your motivation. But I feel like if you can't do the things that you told yourself you were going to do, or the things that you don't have outside checks to make sure that you're actually doing them, then that's still kind of a loss. Because it means that at the end of the day, you don't have any self-discipline, and I feel like that is very true for me right now, where there's a lot of things that I need to be doing and that I've been neglecting. Like I haven't even seen my friends in weeks at this point. Which I guess, to be fair, some of them were traveling, but like all of them are back now, and I still haven't really hung out with any of them. Even though originally I asked some of them to hang out this weekend, and then I woke up at 5 p.m. both days, so I couldn't. And it also doesn't help that recently my workplace has been pretty tumultuous. We've gone through a lot of, for lack of a better term, restructuring, and now my work is way more boring than it was before. At like some days it feels like I'm genuinely just a wage slave. Like, yeah, I'm making money, but the work is so unfulfilling that like there's just I don't feel excited at all, even though this should be something that is an exciting field. It should be in a field that should be exciting, or it's in a field that should be exciting. Sorry, I'm just stumbling over my words right now. It's literally it's an AI startup. Like, aside from the the controversies surrounding AI, this should be a field that is on the forefront of innovation, and yet some days it feels like I'm just working in a call center. Like one of those call centers that where everyone, you like one of those cheap call centers where you hire international people for like a few dollars an hour, and they just call people, or they take calls, or they take messages, shit like that. That's genuinely what my work has kind of turned into this past week. And I don't even know where I'm really going with this. Like, it's 10 p.m. I should have I told myself I was going to go to bed 2 hours ago so I could wake up super early and then get some stuff done. Like, actually lock in for once on the stuff that I need to do, and the stuff that I don't have some type of external force driving me to force me to do them. The stuff I was talking about before. And now it's 10 p.m., which is not super late. I mean, for a college student, this would still be considered early. But I'm here playing Minecraft, making a video to try to take my mind off things, or not even really take my mind off things. I wanted to leave my thoughts out there, just to externalize them, because I think sometimes, for me, talking is almost a kind of therapy. Is this slime? Yeah, this is slime. Okay. It's like almost like a type of therapy, in the sense that the same way you're able to externalize thoughts to a therapist and have them give you feedback, I can kind of externalize my thoughts. Obviously without the feedback, unless someone comments on this video and I start like having a discussion with them, which I actually have seen some people comment on some of my other videos, which is pretty cool. I never really expected these videos to reach other people, which sounds silly because I'm posting them online, but at the end of the day, I'm doing this channel for me, and it's still cool to see that other people have at times resonated with the topics I talk about, or my own experiences. But also at the same time, like I don't really know where I'm going with this. I think sometimes there's just things I want to talk about where I don't necessarily have a moral lesson or some type of eureka moment where I realize like a life lesson that I can carry. Although I think in this case what I'm really just trying to do is to voice something that I don't think is voiced enough, which I mean it's been like represented in media implicitly, the monotony of life sometimes. I've even seen it being nostalgia, like people talk about how they miss the monotony as things change, which I have done that myself. I even talked about it in one of my college essays back when I was applying to colleges. So this it's not like I'm not trying to say monotony inherently is a bad thing. What I'm saying is too much monotony inherently is kind of a bad thing, especially when that monotony at times can almost coerce someone into more monotony. Because I think one of the problems, right? I talked about how a lot of the things I've wanted to do, I haven't gotten to yet because there's no external thing that forces me to do it. I think it's also important to recognize that at some level, some of the things that I'm not doing is because there is that lack of change. Or I don't do these things, but it's not like my world is ending. Therefore, there isn't kind of an external motivator out there. The fact that I guess monotony can it's like monotony can almost breed more monotony. Because like let's say I don't go to the gym and then I get like super obese or some shit to the point where I start having health problems. And obviously like that would be an external motivator. But like I'm still fine. Like I wouldn't call myself someone who's super healthy. But at the same time, like I can get through my daily life without any troubles. Like most of my commute is walking. I've never like, you know, it's not like I'm gonna die if I have to walk for half an hour in 90-degree heat. I can do that no problem. And I think because of that, it's a mixture of the lack of self-discipline, because I think inherently self-discipline is you doing something when there aren't any external motivators. But at the same time, like we do stuff a lot of the times because there's some type of external motivation, whether because you want like money, whether it's materialistic, whether you have some type of goal you want to reach. Oftentimes it can be short term, oftentimes it can be long term, I don't know. But then combine that with the fact that like, I mean, the indication here is that because even despite the fact that I'm not doing anything, my life isn't changing, it means that like it's not super necessary to do them in the here and now, if that makes sense. Like it's a little bit of a confusing concept, but I'm just trying to really outline the reasons I think I've identified for this, and like why it's persistent, if that, yeah. I'm really mincing my words right now, but I can't even blame this on it being late. I used to record all my videos either super early in the morning or like super late at night. Now I've been awake for what, 5-ish hours, and it's not even super late, so I really have no excuse, but I'm just kind of yapping at this point. Fuck. At the same time, though, I think it's also important just to have some type of moral to the story, because it's also helpful for me. I talked about this last video, but for me, sometimes just having or coming up with a moral of the story, or just thinking out loud, allows me to come up with some type of lesson or some type of observation that is important during the video as I'm recording, and then I can take that later on and actually do something with it. So I'm gonna keep thinking as I struggle through this parkour. I think, let's see, what are the things we talked about today? First, First was about monotony, but I think the more important thing was how monotony can breed more monotony through encouraging inaction. Because we don't have an external validator in order to take action to begin with. I don't know. Like, I guess the moral of the story is to find some type of external validator. Then I don't think we need to like be like, oh, just do things without any type of external motivation. Just have discipline. But I think discipline and motivation are inherently more tied together than people try to sell it. Like, a lot of people say, discipline is better to have than motivation, but I think discipline ultimately comes from motivation, right? You wouldn't do something that is totally useless. Like, people talk about how, oh, you don't need to have motivation to go to the gym, you should have the discipline to do it anyways. But the reason why people go to the gym is because they want to get healthier, they want to look better. That by itself is a type of motivation. Motivation isn't just a feeling of, oh, I want to do this in the here and now. I think it's much more deeply rooted in the sense that it is something, anything that drives action should be considered a motivator, whether you feel it or not. Right? Because if working out didn't have any of the benefits, didn't have any of the health benefits, the aesthetic benefits, whatever people work out, like whatever reasons people have for working out, we wouldn't be doing it. So to say that, to try to divorce the concepts of discipline and motivation, I think is kind of being blind to the deeper meanings of what both of them are. They're much more tied together than people think, right? At least that's my opinion. Obviously, other people may differ. So then I think the moral of the story then is, I just said then twice in the sentence, good God. I think the moral of the story is to create some type of motivator, or not necessarily create, but to find that hidden motivator that you can use in order to drive action. Holy fuck, okay. Whether that be, I didn't really think this out. I feel like I'm slowly getting to something, but it's like just out of the reach. It's in like the back of my mind. I haven't latched onto it yet. It could just be as simple as like focusing on something and making it your primary motivation, even if it wasn't before. Yeah, because like I talked about how I want to study finance concepts to get my technicals and my behaviorals all up to scratch, and the reason why I'm not doing it now is because if you look at it through the lens of monotony is because I don't interview. My interviews don't start for another few months, right? Applications don't open for another few months. But I think the difference I need to make in my mindset is looking at focusing more on the long-term goals of something rather than the short-term. And this is something I've struggled with for a while. It's one of the reasons why I tend to get cooked academically when there's no external like check on me, because back in high school, I'd always have my parents, but now that I'm in college by myself and there's nothing that actually keeps me from skipping class or not like studying for a midterm until the night before, like it's that type of thing. I'm not looking at the long term. I'm looking at the short term here and now. Oh, skipping a class didn't affect my day-to-day life, but it did affect me in the long term because it means I got cooked on a midterm and now my GPA is fucked and all that stuff. So I think that is the mindset shift that I need to adopt. Focusing more on the long term rather than whether my life changes on a day-to-day basis. And I think this is obviously going to be a lot tougher. It sounds very simple on paper, but the thing about mindset changes is that they take a while to work, right? Because even on a psychological level, when you've conditioned yourself to think a certain way, it's very hard to break out of that line of thinking. That's okay though. I think I'll be fine. I mean, it's gonna be Monday, so I'm gonna have to go to work tomorrow, which, I mean, I kind of don't want to because work is boring as shit right now. Even if I am getting paid, like, I don't do this work for the money. I'm doing it for the learning experiences, which I think is more valuable than money. At least, I should clarify, for me, because I'm not in a position where I need money. Like, I'm very privileged. I'm privileged because I get to prioritize learning more than income at this stage in my life. And a lot of people I know don't have that same luxury, and I'm very grateful for the people that put me in this position to have that luxury. But at the same time, like, you know, I think at some part, if I'm not learning, I'm both invalidating their work and also my own feelings. Because the reason why my parents worked so hard is so I could do, like, even an unpaid internship as long as I learned a lot from it. Like, that's really what they told me from day one was learn as much as you can, get as many experiences as you can, so pursue self-growth while you're still in the position to. That's the reason why we're like, you know, why we worked so hard was to make sure you have a good life. And right now, on paper, I have a really good life, but I'm not achieving kind of the goals that I set out for myself for this summer. And that, in part, as a TLDR, sucks for both me and also the people that worked so hard to make sure I could have these types of privileged goals during the summer. So, yeah, I don't think there's really much more to say on this topic, at least for now. I've kind of identified what I need to change. Now, really, the only question is, can I adopt that change in a timely manner and adopt it well? And I think the first step to that is getting good sleep. So I'm going to end the video off here now. I'm going to go to bed, sleep well, wake up early tomorrow, lock the fuck in, go to work, and actually start committing myself to the goals I set out for this summer. So with that in mind, I'll see you guys later.